Great. Well, good morning, everybody. This is Kendall Davis, and thank you so much for joining our last Foundation Alliance webinar of the year. This year's been awesome, and we have a lot of really great things in store for 2018. We're going to talk to you guys a little about that today. We also have some really fantastic resources that we're going to present to you today, as well as a training that I think everyone, will benefit a lot from. So I'm just going to jump right in and want to talk to you guys a little bit about some things that we've been doing as a team over the past couple of months since our summit. We've really been working on kind of reestablishing our strategic plan for the next couple of years and really trying to come back to what we feel are the greatest values of Global Genes and what we can really do for the community. So we've been working with a company to kind of really focus in on what our values are and what our passions are, and we're going to be presenting our larger strategic plan after the first of the year. But to give you guys a little bit of an idea, we've kind of honed in on some of our core values and passions. And to give you an idea of what that looks like, we've decided that as Global Genes, as an organization, our core values and our passion are that we are intentional, which means that everything we do it very intentionally to bring resources and progress to the rare community. We are connection. We like to think of ourselves as connectors. We want to make sure that everybody has access to the types of resources that they need to be successful. We are support, so we want to make sure that every single Foundation Alliance member, as well as each member of those organizations, feel supported within their journey. Our hope, we like to try to bring as much positive energy to the rare community as possible, and show people that there is a lot of a lot that can be done, and that hope should be kind of at your core. And we impact. So we really wanted to try to have the greatest impact on this entire global community. Our purpose is that the purpose of Global Genes is to connect, empower, and inspire the global rare disease community. So we're really looking at trying to focus everything we're going to be doing moving forward on, kind of this idea of really connecting everybody, empowering, and being able to inspire everyone within this community to do whatever, they would like to do in order to move their or progress on their journey. For the future is that we want to really strive to connect or create a globally connected community equipped to eliminate the challenges of rare disease. Our mission statement was we want to eliminate the challenges of rare disease. We've been thinking that what we really want to do is connect this entire community together and equip everybody involved to be able to face their challenges and really, tackle them. And so we're really focusing a lot of what we're going to be doing over the next couple of years on this idea of really making sure that we have the resources that all of you need to be able to, kind of take on any of the challenges that you're facing individually. So we kind of differentiate ourselves on three strategic horizons. So we provide versatile, individualized support for patients and disease communities. We offer an extensive free information center open to all patient advocates in their communities. And we're to create a collaborative model that adapts and scales. So understanding the importance of collaboration, connection, and sharing best practices. Something we're focusing on in 2018 is kind of building out and redoing our website so that all of the resources we have are very easily accessible to everybody in the community. So we're really excited. It's a huge project and a really big undertaking, but I think once we have it all really put together, the ease of being able to access the resources that we have is going to be so much better for all of you and all of the individuals in your communities, and we'll be able to, provide those at a much faster rate. Science has grown. I actually did an audit, and we're at about 463 organizations right now. And essentially, the Foundation Alliance is a coalition of rare disease foundations who understand that together we can be more effective, stronger, and unified. We really want to create this opportunity for all of these organizations who are more disease specific to connect with one another, to learn from one another, and to be able to utilize each other as well as the resources that we can hopefully provide to be successful in their communities. I'll be out after this call with the follow-up. Again, our kind of outline of the benefits of being a Foundation Alliance member, but here are a couple that we think are really great, and we really hope that all of you are utilizing. We do a closed Facebook group, which is just an opportunity to kind of ask questions and reach out to different people in the community. We do a members only page. If you've been on it lately, I am sorry. It's kind of being wrapped into that redo of the website, but we are planning some really cool things for this site or this page where you can log in and get some unique resources that will only be available to our Foundation Alliance members. Network opportunities, again, we are working to build this out. We had our first networking reception at Summit this year, and we're definitely going to be doing that again, as well as a couple other things throughout the year. So be on the lookout for those. What are the newsletters? We are going to start doing the Foundation Alliance newsletter monthly in 2018. I've been getting so many amazing resources that we want to get out to everybody, and so clearly it just wasn't really working. And so we'll talk a little bit about that later. But if you do have any resources or anything that you want to promote, any awareness activities, please send them to me, and then we can get them out in our newsletters. We're hosting support, so if your organization, if you're looking to host a webinar, we can actually use the platform that we're on right now, be able to help you do so. We can, there's more information in the benefits document that I'll send out, but please feel free to contact any of us for that information. Provide one-on-one support, so at any point in time, if your organization or you personally or someone you know is kind of struggling with something, reach out to us. We'd love to connect and make sure that you're fully supported. And if there's something that we as an organization we want to make sure that that's available to you. We offer support, so if you have those awareness events or things coming up, or your community's done something really great, let us know. We want to push it out on our social media. We want to get it out to the larger community as a whole. The Rare Page Impact Grant, I know a lot of you know a little bit about this program. Ashley will speak to it a little bit later. I believe that this also will be in the document, but it's a grant program that's exclusively open to our Foundation Alliance members. This year, or 2018, we are going to be focusing in on creating some more leadership opportunities. So that all of these fantastic foundations we work with can come together, and we can provide some more live time and real leadership trainings and different things to be able to help you advance your community a little bit. On event and registrations, we'll be doing our summit again this year. We're going to be doing Rare on the Road again, which if you didn't engage with last year, it's an awesome partnership that we have with the Every Life Foundation, and I'll show you the dates for those a little bit later. As a member, you do receive discounts on any of the events that we're going to be doing. There's more, but I want to kind of move along because we have some really awesome trainings and information for you. So you'll get a copy of the benefits doc for 2018. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to reach out. And also, if there's something that you would really like to see that we're not providing, please let me know. We rely on the Foundation Alliance to let us know what is necessary and what we need. So don't ever hesitate to reach out and say, hey, it would be really great if you guys had this. All right, quick updates from the Global Genes team. Mick Cagle has been our Interim Director of Patient Engagement for a little while now, but she is on board full-time, and we couldn't be more excited. Meredith brings a ton of experience to Global Genes and has been really helping us to move forward with a lot of things we want to do within our patient engagement team. So welcome, Meredith. I'm sure a lot of you have connected with her. She's running a couple of our programs. If you haven't, shoot an email. She's fantastic, and she definitely is helping us to be able to provide some more resources to our Foundation Alliance. We've created 18 Foundation Alliance member badges. We're kind of excited. We want everybody to, utilize these as much as you want. You can put it on your website or email signature. We're going to be trying to, create them every year to really show kind of the level of involvement that organizations are having with us. I'm going to be sending these out with the kind of, hey, let's update your information. We want to make sure that we're We have the correct emails and primary contacts for all of the organizations. So you'll get that within a couple of weeks to do so that we can do an audit and make sure we have all the right information. And then you'll receive the new membership badge. And like I said, you can either put it on your website or in your email, where you'd like. The newsletter is going to be coming out monthly starting in 2018. So again, if you have any information or anything you'd like to share in there, or a great resource that you found, please let me know. I'm happy to get it out there so that we can get to the rare community. I would love to get them by the first of the month. I believe we're going to be doing the newsletter around the 15th. So if you have information, send it to me by the first of the month, and we'll try to get it out there. All right. I am going over to Ashley Yee to talk a little bit about the Cox Scholarship and the rare toolkits.
Thanks, Ken. So I like to give an update on 2 of our programs to the Foundation Alliance. We would love for you all to share with your community, and we're looking for some volunteers. So as many of you know, we did have a program called the David R. Cox Prize for Rare Compassion. We did put it on hold for the year 2017 as we've been revising it a bit, but we are ready to bring it back and relaunch it. So it will be now known as the David R. Cox Scholarship for Rare Compassion. It is open to all medical students. We are now offering it to be a family matching program to help educate young medical professionals about living with rare diseases. The program is now open to all students as long as they are not for residency in their by the summer of 2018, although we're still willing to match them just to have the experience. So we would really love, of course, our Foundation Alliance to pass this out to. If you work with any doctors, please feel free to share it with them in their network. Or if you also have would like to share this with your community, we of course need families to match them with, and we would love to match them with you. And we'll do our best. We can't guarantee a match, but we are looking for obviously a lot of people to volunteer, and I think many of you guys have also participated in this program in the past, so we're excited to bring it back. If you have any questions, you can feel free to email me. My email address is there. Match technically open on January 1st, and we'll close February 15th with matching introductions being made in the following weeks after that. We've also attached the link for families to fill out the form to be involved. And if you just check out online at globalgenes.org under the David R. Cox Scholarship, you'll see a bunch of our information, key dates, guidelines, as well as the scholarship amounts if they are medical students. And toolkits, we're trying to refocus our toolkits to align with our mission. I'm looking to hopefully do some impact focus group on our toolkits, and we would love our Foundation Alliance members to participate in this. I'm looking for about 10 to 30 advocates. Would be reviewing up to 9 toolkits over the span of 6 months. This would be pretty simple. You would just take a pre-survey that I would send out to you, read the toolkit, the designated toolkit, and then follow up with a post-survey. We're just really trying to determine how effective or how we can improve our toolkit program to bring more quality, empowerment, and education to our community. So if you are interested in participating in this focus group, I would love to have you. You can either email Kendall at Kendall J at Global Genes, or you can email myself if you've already are familiar with me and the toolkit program. Feel free to email me as well. I'm not looking to start this until January 1st. So if you find interest, or if anyone in your community is interested in participating in this focus group, and would love to hear from them, and would love to get this started at the top of 2018 so that we can give you better and quality education resources. And again, if you guys have any questions about either of these programs, or as Kendall mentioned, the Rare Patient Impact Grant, which I also manage, please feel free to email me at my Global Genes personal email. So go ahead, Kendall, back to you.
Now I'm going to turn it over to Meredith Cagle, and she's going to talk a little bit about the Rare Carousel of Possible Dreams event that we're going to be doing. We talked about this at our summit, so some of you might have heard of it. I know a lot of you were involved, but we kind of wanted to, make sure that everyone understood what it was and talk a little bit more about it. So Meredith, take it away.
Thanks, Joel. I'm so excited about the Rare Carousel Possible Dreams. I've had an opportunity to speak with many Foundation Alliance leaders over the last several weeks. Thrilled to welcome more than 30 organizations who have registered to participate. And along the way, I've gotten to know a lot of people who maybe have decided that this isn't quite the right for them either. But I've really enjoyed speaking with you and learning more about your organization. So I want to say that we have more than 30 organizations registered to participate in this collective fundraiser. They're fundraising for their own individual organizations and possible dreams. The fundraising goals range from $25,000 to $50,000, and collectively, there's a collective goal of over $1 million, which is just fantastic. And we certainly hope that all of the organizations their individual goals, and collectively, we've been able, in partnership with the Festival of Children Foundation, to help facilitate that success for our foundation partners. The possible dreams of the organizations include family meetups, scientific conferences, research, tutoring and training for tutors, travel medical scholarship funds, educational materials, emergency preparedness days, resource development and support, and so much more. So it's also really exciting to see the spectrum of possible dreams and to get a sense of what the needs are for the community as well. Have a kickoff of the program and work plan training so that Global Genes is committed to this process. The individual organizations, their goal is to fund their possible dream. Our goal is to support those efforts and on the way to also hopefully train the organizations that are participating on how to do peer-to-peer fundraising and how to adapt some fundraising strategies to any type of fundraiser. And some of the organizations that have committed to participating have extensive experience already and may need, limited support from Global Teams. Others are new to this type of fundraising or to fundraising at all, and so we're going to be there to support them every step of the way. Our training webinar is tomorrow. It will be recorded for anyone who is signed up and unable to attend. I originally had a deadline of December 1st. I do have some stragglers who are coming in and have still expressed interest in participating. I will still accept new registrations for organizations. So if your organization missed the deadline or maybe needed to talk to a few more people to decide if it was right for you, it's not too late. Please do contact me, though, by shooting me an email today, if possible, and let me know that you are still considering it. I want to make sure that we start including your team captain on all of the correspondence so that they don't get behind in any of the training opportunities. So please do that. Let me know. And for those of you who are on the call who are committed to the Rare Carousel, I look forward to speaking with you tomorrow on our training. With that, I'd like to turn the call over and introduce you to Artem Zikovic. He's the PhD. He's the Chief Executive Officer for DNA Checkup, who is one of our Foundation Alliance partners. And he's going to tell you more about the services that their organization provides and how you, your foundations and your families could potentially work with DNA Checkup to regarding genetic testing. So with that, I will hand it over to Artem.
I'd like to thank Global Genes for the opportunity to present to you today. DNA Checkup in July 2016 is a nonprofit with the goal of providing free carrier testing to families, patients diagnosed with recessive genetic disorders. Who should test? Any biological relative, such as siblings, cousins, aunts, and uncles, and so on, who has a family member and might have a mutation, one or two, from a cluster. and be tested. Knowing this is important when planning a family. If you and your spouse are carriers for the same disorder, with advanced knowledge, there are various options, like in vitro fertilization. But in addition to make suggestions, since all solutions are significant and a personal decision for every family, we have to be informed about their carrier status so they can make a decision before they conceive. Work. A participant count at DNA Checkup website and a provider information and mutation identified in an affected family member that should be tested. It's physician ordered, and there is a choice to get such order from a personal physician or an online independent physician. Online order takes up to 2 days, and if approved, we will send a cheek swab collection kit along with informed consent documents and prepaid return shipping packaging. Everything will be done at home, and once selected and shipped, results will be available at the user's online account within 4 to 5 weeks from the time we receive the swab sample. Positive and negative results are posted at our website and contain information on the mutation and presence of this mutation in the sample. Personal information of users will be handled by a secure Amazon server, and the information will be disclosed to anyone unless opted in to allow DNA Checkup to aggregate the identified scientific data publication, which will be available for free to the public and might help with a future treatment development or diagnostic. And genetic test is performed by gene clinical laboratory, which is NCAP certified and has over a decade of testing experience. Though by testing for free, as you know, it's not that easy to fundraise, especially disease prevention services like ours. And decided to offer testing for a fee in time we are not so successful at fundraising. We test for the genetic mutations, usually one that are not affected family member. We are able to keep the testing price down to $200. I want it because we would like to partner with patient advocacy groups to raise awareness about DNA Checkup service and to find ways to sponsor or subsidize the cost of the test so family members will pay only a small fee to be tested. And now I would like to answer any question you have.
Has any questions, we can take a couple right now. If you want to just put them into the question and answer down on the right of the screen, we can ask Artem. We have a couple minutes for questions.
We do, sorry, Kendall, we do have one question that just came in. Is the best contact, best email would be contact@DNA Checkup?
Yes. Or my email, either or.
Perfect. Hope, awesome that you heard it. So either use the contact@dnacheckup.org or go ahead and email Artem himself.
Right. Well, we will be putting out a copy of this slide deck as well. So if anybody has questions, you'll have the contact email. If you want to reach out to Ashley or myself, you're welcome to do that, and we can, either connect you or try to get answers for any of the questions you might have. So we're very excited to have Terry Klein on with us today, and she is going to present a really fantastic training on grant writing, which I know is something that pretty much every single foundation or organization, nonprofit I've ever worked with, you know, it's something that you have to do, and it can be kind of frustrating and complicated. And so Terry has a really fantastic presentation for everybody to kind of walk through a little bit of the process. So Terry, thank you so much for joining us today, and take it away.
Thank you, everyone. Can everyone hear me okay? Good, thank you. Just a quick disclaimer at the top. I'm glad to be here, but I have a cold, and so if I could mute for just a moment, or if there's some brief pauses of silence, I apologize for that. I'm certainly excited to be here and share with all of you a presentation called Securing the Grant and Unlocking the Future. About myself, so you can understand the space that I'm in as a grant writer for the National NPS Society. And I'm hoping that some of what I've done in my past and what I'm doing now will help inspire you and your organizations to be able to write grants. So thank you to the Rare Foundation Alliance and to Global Genes for allowing us to put this together in the spirit of what they had mentioned earlier. Sharing tools and not having to reinvent the wheel is really important. And I hope that if there's at least 2 or 3 things that you can take away today from my presentation that you'll be able to incorporate within your organization, that'll be a successful day for you by taking a few minutes to listen to the presentation itself. But let me quickly a little bit about myself. I'm into the rare disease space abruptly in the early 2000s when a diagnosis of my daughter with a rare disease changed her family's path. The skills I had in the corporate world and in human resource management flipped quickly into grassroots nonprofit. I've spent over 30 years developing partnerships and understanding the importance of collaborations and reducing risks and stewarding and prospecting key stakeholders. And partnering, remember to always partner with organizations whose mission I aligned. All key contributors that I would find out would become best practices for the development process. Start with a quote I've said many different times before in many different ways, but it's true, and it's true in grant writing. People will forget what you said, forget what you did, but they will never forget how you feel. Important quote, and I actually keep it by my desk, and I incorporate it into my writing. And I can talk about this quote by Angela later on. I don't want this to overwhelm you, but I'm trying to quickly do a deep dive into what writing is about and have organizational preparedness for your organization. And done is I've broke it down into 5 different steps in 5 key areas. Acknowledge from the beginning that grant writing begins many, many eons before you ever put your fingers to a keyboard or you put your pen to paper. The organization that you work for must set the stage for what I call organization preparedness. These steps that I've outlined through 3, you'll then be able to move through steps 4 and 5 and actually participate in the grant writing process. These very quickly. Number 1, understand your financials. Build your own framework. Leverage communication platforms. Where I'm with this, we'll talk about a little bit later, but it's basically understanding where your organization fits in its 990s, and are you prepared to talk about your financials when you write grants? Number 2, you board commitment. You must carve time out for grant development. Don't sell this time. It's a big program. I'm going to talk about how you can take baby steps into it. You have to secure board commitment so that they understand the resources of time you're going to need in order to have a successful grant program. Now, I'm going to show you some ways to define who your grantor is and how to reach the best foundation platform leads that help you find funding for the important program that you need funding for in your organization. Also to share some best practices on grantor stewardship, a key component of a successful grant. We're going to talk about building a case for support, maintaining your mission-centric grant writing skills, and knowledge on all of the internal programs that organization. And then finally, we're going to get to the part where we talk about writing the grant, understand deliverables, following directions from a core, the internal grant libraries, and to always remain to be clear and what are metrics. Back to number one, your financials. Year 4, your organization begins to conquer a grant program. Some really key important processes have to take place. Those file taxes, ensuring that your 990s are up to date, that have transparency on your website, donors and your grantors, and to actually understand your 990. Be able to speak to your nonprofit's program dollars, funding quotients, any net gains or losses that you might see from year to year. This information is actually quite critical. Certain your organization's mission and your main programs are highlighted in your 990. You want to stand out because many times your 990s are additional supplement piece that are provided with grant when you submit it. Journal framework and leverage communication platforms. One of this is to be certain that your website is working. Prepare to share your organizational chart with your grantor and your recognition, or what I say, up your game in various communication platforms. If your website be it's current and relevant, if your organization has a Facebook page or a Twitter account or LinkedIn, use them. What out over the last few years is that more and more grantors are looking at how a potential grantee uses platforms to engage with their client base and reactionary outcomes. In addition, many grant platforms today request you put your actual websites, your Twitter, and your Facebook handles all inside the address bars so that when they access the grants online, they're actually checking your pages out right there, right then. So you want to make sure that you're current with what you're communicating, what you're messaging, and what's on your website. Maintaining GuideStar and providing financial transparency on your website will lead ratings with such organizations such as Charity Navigator. Charity Navigator is a leader in nonprofit ratings. It's a report card. I like to say it's how is your organization represented. There's a deep layer of metrics involved, but it's down to program dollars, fund ratios, transparency, and how your organization is growing. Ratings, it's kind of like a credit score. I tried to explain it to our board and our team here at National NPS Society. The opportunity to receive funds is greater because it's less to the grantor of a high rating with Charity Navigator. The governance committee at the Society, along with our accountant and myself, have invested a great deal of time to ensure our organization has either a 3 or 4-star charity rating. We have received a 4-star charity rating for many consecutive years, and this puts our organization in the top 8% of charities nationwide, recognizing sound fiscal responsibility. And obviously, this is a key component when you're writing a grant. Although profits write grants, and the board is always hoping that someone wants to write grants, we have obtained board director commitment and time out for grant development. That I've learned in a grant development program, it takes time and resources of people, resources that are usually beyond what you have projected on a time. Board directors' commitment is key because if they understand the grant writing process, they're also going to understand that there's successes and the failures. But along the way, the program can be strong if you allow it to develop. A grant program requires resources of time, people, and funding, like I had mentioned earlier, and also a program that's built like any other development program. I like people to think about a grant program in development as another bucket. You have fundraisers, you may have annual funds, you might have a planned giving program, you may have a capstone project that you're working on. Grant development is one of those buckets, and it needs to be given the appropriate time. The board needs to buy into the grant process. Grants take an abundance of time, and it's a program framework stewarding grantors and follow-up for many visits possibly over a long period of time. But it's important we recognize right from the top that is part of the grants program. Don't be discouraged. When a grant is very well vetted, it has the opportunity to succeed possibly than 50 or 75% in my experience. If steps are missed, the grant's chance of success is exponentially plummeting downwards. On a number of grants behind me in my drawer, perhaps one of those steps wasn't followed or something wasn't vetted quite enough. And a grant is a beautiful piece of art, in short of what needed it to be. And I learned many years ago that you had to go back to the basics and don't skip your steps. A fund development calendar. I'm here to provide anybody an example of what this looks like or provide this to Global Genes directly. One of the best things that I received when I took this position at the Society was somebody had introduced me to a fund development calendar. Add development into this calendar and share with your board of directors. Unless you have a buy-in from the board to understand the commitment of time and they can visualize it, it can be a difficult and struggling process. Calendar is also a source of what I call accountability for your work. This is grant development on track for the necessary steps and shared with the entire team. Like everyone else, it's human nature that you simply don't want to complete a task that's on the program. But charting the program through the calendar will help you visualize the outcomes. And if you're not completing each component on time, what could mean? Defender. Work now about research best subscription foundation platforms and how you as your organization can determine who a grantor could possibly be and some practices. Subscribed grant-seeking tools include organizations or companies such as the Foundation Center or the Nonprofit Times and those. These tools guide you in developing equations to filter out potential grantors that could fund an unmet need of your organization and the of your organization. They list items such as fund capital campaigns, annual funds, fund operations, fund-specific research, or even fund research, only in North Carolina, for instance, or only in California. There's a robust filtering that can take place, and you'll be able to determine what potential grantors might be in space to fund the specific project that you need funding for. These tools provide robust information that usually includes training, and it can be available for your team. You provide clarity and a roadmap to all potential grantors, and I recommend that when you determine to get a subscription database system, that you take full advantage of their training in this amount of time. An important tool that will help develop stewardship. I want to talk specifically about federal grants. We could for an entire week about federal grants. But I want you to understand that the layers of accounting in this area are quite vast. So those that are considering government grants, I would suggest that a combined federal campaign, which you see logo up there on the chart, is a great way for a point of entry. It will show you the different layers within a government in terms of receiving funding through a campaign or through the United Way. and show you the amount of tools that are required for following up on such a grant before you possibly look into additional federal funding. It's about the Combined Federal Campaign is we can reach donors through this process. And many times when you are approved through your grant, through the Combined Federal Campaign, donors will stay with you for a long period of time. To provide an example of our existing grant layout through the Combined Federal Campaign, if it will help others to begin this initial process. We've been applying for the Combined Federal Campaign for over 11 years, and since I've been with the Society for the past 9 years, I can say in a very positive way that we've been consecutively accepted in this area. Let's talk additional grantors. We wonder that each of the organizations are looking at their industry partners, potential key stakeholders. Who is your network? Who is in the space with you? The drug development pipeline. Who trial place? Pay those key stakeholders and those industry partners. And that within your organization, it's very possible someone else in another department is building relationships and alliances with those KOLs and partners. Leverage opportunities and relationships for an opportunity for you to be in those opportunities to speak with them regarding various programs. These are opportunities to be able to share the unmet need funding for potential program. The other source for funding is through your board of directors. As a development director or a CEO who are a leader of the organizations, who's ever on this call and listening to this webinar, that if you are that point of contact and that line to your board of directors, take time to individually speak with each of them, discuss grants, discuss their network, and what potential other boards they might be sitting on that funding might be available for this organization. They're a valuable source of potential grantor funding. Grants best suit your nonprofit organization. I know 3 types. They're right here on this slide in front of you. It's not exclusive. You can use more than one. But for our benefit here at the National NPS Society, laying them out this way was more understandable by our board and by the team. So we have different types of grants. We have foundation and corporate grants that we reach to. We have federal grants through the Combined Federal Campaign. And we take a look at industry partners and our key stakeholders. When you need to research for grants, please to build a team and dedicate time to research and development. It's time to vet through these online subscription systems and to bring forth a potential grantor for your organization. You understand what that grantor actually gives and in its community giving guidelines. Nations and companies and corporations have community giving guidelines, and they're very specific usually in terms of what they'll fund and what they won't fund. Time, if you find out that they don't align with your mission or what your program needs are, it's time to move on. Previous awards issued by the grantor, the area, when you are in these subscription database systems that are available, like online foundation directory, you actually review what grantor has previously awarded. It's possible that there's other organizations that are in your space that received funds for exactly what you're doing. It's become very key vetted opportunities. You do need to introduce your organization. You'll go through these subscription database systems and you will discover that they don't want a direct phone call. And you'll have to figure out a way either through the board of directors or by REM if you can take a meeting, because you do need to steward that grant before you submit a grant. Gone in blindly and haven't developed that relationship on and in person, we have failed to succeed. That you put in to get yourself ready to write a grant and put time in to write the grant If the giver wasn't ready to receive it, it's that time lost. I heard about the federal grants and the combined federal campaign. I really believe it's a great point of entry for those that want to get started and be able to develop donors and to be able to develop a relationship with the OPM. It takes about a week to a week and a half to put together the information for the grant for the combined federal campaign. But what's here is that to be work families on a national level, and you must be able to reach more than 15 states with your programs. Partners and our key stakeholders and our board. Before I write a grant, we go years and years of developing and strengthening our partnerships with our industry network. For these reasons, we're discussing clinical trials, drug development, our family conferences, whatever it might be. The specific need, we like to think of it as an open communication highway. I'm looking for them to simply write a check. I'm to them to build a relationship and have partnership for a very, very, very long time. That with you. And that you create pathways for industry partner opportunities as well. So when you hear of new potential industry partners coming into your space of your organization, time to reach out to them, understand their mission and what they're trying to achieve, and determine if there's any place in the future that you will be able to align together. I've already about the board a little bit, and I don't need to regroup on again. Simply get your board commitment. Support. Getting really close to writing the grant now. You're engaged in your organization, each department, so that you can tell a story, unmet need, and grasp a full understanding of what all ties together in your mission for a grant request. Many organizations, especially one-man development teams or small shops, even like mine, work autonomously is what I refer to throughout the organization in order of how the sum of the parts equal the whole. People and team may not talk with one another about what their clients' needs are, or we're possibly even lacking funding. But it's the job of the grant writer to get up, go away, go to the departments, interview your colleagues, just on information sharing on a regular basis. Not be able to do what I do if I didn't ask the program director or my other development directors or my board to be with stories of unmet needs within our patient population. Or talking with our families themselves. It's crucial, not simple. It is crucial that you're not a wordsmith machine. Change maker is what I refer to as a grant maker, but a change maker and storyteller has viewed their team that they work with and has developed a case for support that will help grant feel the need and mission of nonprofit organization will be met if done. Over a year to understand, I needed to create pathways back to development to ensure that I was able to provide the critical case for support for a grant to be written. The pathways weren't developed yet, so I create those pathways. I understood deeply the need and the funds required, and our budget and timelines. I'm not able to succeed at vetting the grantor to plant in your grant writing. Currently, where I work, we have over 15 ongoing projects at the National NPS Society. For these programs exist because grants that I've written, I've built a specific case for support, but always stayed mission-centric to the organization and the proper grantor to project. Sometimes these projects could be a year, 2, 3, but they're there, and we've identified them, and then go down this path of identifying a grantor that can possibly fund that specific project. staying on top of your client needs, the ability to connect your internal programs and build many sufficient cases for support. It's important to get comfortable with budgets, forecasting, metrics, and measure program success. If you're comfortable with this, here are some of the suggestions that I came up with, some of the roads I had to go down myself. Read 990 with your accountant. Understand what it says about your nonprofit organization. Ask as many questions as you need, but really understand your 990. Review other 990s in your nonprofit sector. Understand how you measure up against them. Speak of the budget process within your organization. Understand the values associated with your resources. Writing a grant for development, and the time involved and the salary required to administer such a program. Programs and resources mean time, staff time, and you need to understand how to allocate that across your grants. Number 5, know that at the beginning, you'll write the grant. All this preparedness that you've had going on has brought you to the point that you're ready to write your grant. We're finally here. We've made it. I like to say to myself, when I get to this spot, it's an honor to write the grant. It's because we're organizational preparedness in terms of our finances, our 990s, our websites are up to date. We know where the unmet need is. We know the funding. We know the budget. We've learned to put the budget together and how to read our 990. We're ready. We've built our case for support. We found resource. We have added a grantor who is possibly going to be the one to fund this unmet need. All components are in place, and this took an abundance amount of time, but it's an integral part of your grant writing. Grant writing is not just about your pen to paper. When you get to the point that your pen to paper or your hands are to the keyboard, it's an honor to write that grant, and it's going to happen fast. This is the part where it's going to move quickly. I can enough how critical the previous steps are. But I share with you kind of a relevant story and something that I remembered from years back. In the 90s, I was in a meeting with a top producing broker. She came to these Tuesday meetings, and she was always busy with something else when she came into these meetings. She shared thank you cards with her usually. Her Tuesday meeting in our office was never just the meeting. I asked one day, "You make time so well. How do you do it? Don't you ever just want to skip something in your day?" Her eye has stayed with me to this day. It really has. And I think of it often. I schedule everything in. Each task of my day has been added to the calendar. This way I will always do the basics. If you skip the basics, then everything you've worked for could tumble down. For 12 years, I've approached my work the same way. The basics of the grant writing. Well, your 1 through 4 were your basics. Don't steps 1 through 4. Because if you skip steps 1 through 4, you're going to tumble down when it comes to number 5. Just remember to do the basics. Prepare yourself for success so that when you get to the point that you're writing the grant, the chances of it succeeding are 50 to 75%, and doesn't success want you to drive yourself to write even more grants. And at the beginning, when you are ready to write your grant, pat yourself on the back and say congratulations. That's what I do. You've worked really hard to get to this point of the grant program success. I kind of wipe my brow, and then like I had said earlier, that it's an honor to begin to write this grant. Of some important components in your writing. You're not that you're writing your grant. Grant usually has 3 or 4 different types of components within it. Number 1, mission-centric grant. Be very clear. Some of the easiest grants to write are the ones that are 25 pages, if you can believe that or not, because you're going on and on and on and on, and you can embellish and you lay out and expand, and it just feels easy. Some of the hardest grants I ever write are the ones that are 2 or 3 pages, single-spaced. Grantor has a specific allotment and specific directions. Be sure you follow the directions explicitly. Don't be exceptions. When they read these, they don't like exceptions. Directions. When you're in the sectional library of grant components, don't the wheel. What I mean by this is, as you start to develop grants, I have a library of case for support and different templates of budgets and different ways that I have introduced a program and repurpose. Develop a library for yourself internally in your system for these grant components so that you extrapolate them and not have to reinvent the wheel every single time. They need to be updated, right? But from them, you will be so thankful that you developed that perfect program piece that was 2 pages, single-spaced, and it was clear and concise and tight, because it's likely you're going to be going to more than one grantor for that information. And easier it will be to set up your libraries internally. You will come to use those faithfully. I have been going all the way back to 2009 and pulling back from my resources on things that I might have used back then. So set those up. It's also key to find a partner to edit your final grant. Determine a person within your organization who has excellent skills at writing or editing, or possibly talk to one of your community foundations in your area to see if someone can volunteer the time. You want someone else to lay their eyes across your grant, because how you write it, they may not see it. And so it's very important. And there's a thing, time to revisit the grant before you submit it. I always leave myself time and come back to revisit it 24 or 40 hours later, because inevitably there's something else I'm going to change, and it's going to be better. It's going to be best. Grantors want to understand how you're going to be spending their money. That you've vetted your vendors, whatever those expenses are, stand behind them with conviction, be done your homework, and you did those expenses. Grants do not like to fund salaries. They like to fund programs and people. They don't want to fund salaries. Director of Development Operations, overseeing a program, it's program dollars and program expenses. That's key. No success. Years ago, the board of directors that I had written a grant for came back to me and said, Terry, we really want to fund that grant. You were so close, but you couldn't explain well enough to us what measure of success looked like for you. And you had failed, come across some obstacles or barriers. What potential solutions could you provide to overcome them? And it was a big grant. There were 450 missions, and we were in the top 15. And they did visit, and we just missed out. I never did. Even though this part of your grant might only be a half a page long or a page long, know how to measure success and understand what it looks like, so they're able to compose measurements, identify outcomes, and identify obstacles and barriers. And if there are obstacles and barriers, provide a solution on what you're going to do for correction. Ways. Grant success is possible when program time and grantor stewardship, case support, and measurable outcomes can be fostered and identified. And mentors with your compelling story that you're going to share. Now, powerful. Know when to take action when your nonprofit organization is ready to build a grant program. And identify the resources to grant. My quotes I wanted to put in there, I thought was really important. Years ago, I used to procrastinate writing in general. Then I realized writing is a continuous process of failing. Any writer composes over and over till finally the end product is just as it should be. Once I embraced this, I no longer feared to write. I accepted sentence and paragraph failure. It was a part of the process. Don't writing intimidate you. Remember that relationship building and starting your future. Wait the grant, and if you are successful, because I know you will be, and you receive that funding, that is when your organization's work is beginning again. It begins when that funding comes, and it is critical that you share back to your grantor milestones or outcomes or goals that you originally told them you would share. Don't skip a step. Make sure you thank them, make sure you continue to steward them, and make sure you are timely in reporting and reconciling back to them. To have them come to you. Be on top of your game. Be on top of your program. Be on top of your team. Make sure that they're delivering what they need to deliver in order for you to deliver and reconcile back to your grantor. That's that quote that I had mentioned earlier from Maya Angelou at the beginning of this. People forget what you said, people forget what you did, but never forget how you made them feel. You can your grant writing. The basis for support. Ensure that in the grant writing process, the grantor, when he picks up your paperwork or he reads your grant request line, they are feeling the need and mission of your organization. I'm here to take any questions.
Great, thanks, Terry. We do have a couple questions have come through, and if anyone else has any questions, please use the Q&A function or the function on the right-hand side. A lot of people have asked if you would be able to share the development calendar. I think if you want to send that to Kendall, she can distribute that out to our Foundation Alliance.
Okay.
We give know how do you steward grants or a very small volunteer organization that's all spread out over the U.S.? So what would be a good plan to go about stewarding grant tours?
I want to understand the dynamics of the organization that's asking the question. So the question is how do we steward a grantor when you're an organization that's spread out across the country? Is that correct?
Yes, that would be correct.
For identifying who the grantor is, so the grantor that you're trying to first identify. So you're in an identification process first. You're trying to determine if there's a grantor through a subscription database system that you might have gotten. But let's just pick anything out. It's ABC Store. Determine that ABC Store possibly funds your organization or it has funded programs similar to what your organization is looking for funding. Here's ABC Store. And let's say ABC Store happens to be in New York and you happen to be out, and I don't know, anywhere, any other state, maybe not there. What's going to be important and key here is find out if that grantor has a national scope. Is there a national scope that they fund towards? Some you'll see at the beginning they funded a program, but they're not going to fund a national scope. If the national scope that they fund, it doesn't matter if you're small little organizations all across the country in 6 or 12 or 25 different areas. All right. What's going to be important here is that you still do the very basics. And what are those? Write them. Take a meeting with them. Call them. Help understand the impact that's going to be achieved if you see funding for this specific program. National scope. Understand that you are servicing a patient population or a program population on a national level. And so that's already understood. Your stewarding is going to come in terms of you putting your programs in front of the key decision maker. Right now, I had that almost identical scenario. We're a national organization, but we have one office that serves the country. We have a national scope, and I'm having to look at grants that we would fund, that would fund us at a national level. And I'm working with one person, just so you know, for almost 4 years. I've been working with this one woman, and we're really close to where I'm going to be able to write this grant. But it's been 4 years of developing this relationship to this point. So I don't want you to feel defeated or feel as if timing is an issue, because sometimes this test takes time. Identify, determine if they have a national scope, then you're talking to the decision maker and the key person that you need to talk to, and put a program in front of them and start building that relationship. I hope that was clear.
So thank you. We did have a couple other questions that came through. People did want to say this was excellent info and great grant information.
Good.
From one of our foundations, what advice do you have for NGOs that are starting and do have a 990 yet? Additionally, Charity Navigator requires organizations to have a revenue of $1 million. Is GuideStar the only option to try to be visible?
Two great questions. So I'll take the first one first. My suggestion, when you don't have because you have your 990 yet, there's still the ability to have some type of an audited statement. And the best thing that you can do is you could at least have some type of financial audit that's performed and get it onto your website and get it under a section that has financials and donor transparency, so that you're at least acknowledging to your grantor and to your donors that although they haven't filed a 990, you do have your financials looked at. Great question about the Charity Navigator. I don't know. I want to know if there's another robust tool, but I don't know another one. And I'm sorry I'm coming up short on that question, but I'm happy to do some R&D, and I can get back, Ashley, and get information over so that you guys we can vet this, because it's a good question.
And yes, me and for everyone on the Foundation Alliance, myself and Kendall, we can definitely follow up with Terry on these questions and see if there's any additional resources or information we can try to send out and provide to the foundation. We did have a final question. If you can, can you give an example of funding that you received through the CFC? We currently receive funding through several local United Way groups. Are you saying that United Way funds could come through CFC? What else could we receive? What we receive through the CFC?
The Combined Federal Campaign this last year has gone through a plethora of changes. But one of the things that we have seen is that some of the United Ways are just, I don't want to say that they're folded under the federal campaign areas, but the CFC has moved to regions. And where we used to get multiple checks from all kinds of entities across the country, they're now regionalized. And the type of funding that we get, it isn't beyond, it isn't just way. It's the federal campaigns along with some of the United Way we've noticed. So that's why I included that and said that in my verbiage to you. The thing that I can share with you in this is that the Combined Federal Campaign, it had a layer of work that you had to achieve, and you had to grant and put all documents together and provide this very robust grant. And it was a really good entry for what a federal grant would possibly look like. And they require up to 3 years of reporting. And so there is any additional funding in the federal campaign, but the one thing that we've noticed in our organization, although it is by far not the largest bucket that we bring funding in, it's not, but the idea that we make it available to our donors and for our members so that they know, so they share it with their government employees, has very, very important. Sorry to break there, and I had to drink some water, sorry. Very important, because don't have $5 or $10, but want to give in this very special way. And so we learned that though this may not be what organization open, it is important that we're reaching these donors very specifically. So I'll share that.
We did have one more question that did come through. Could you provide a few examples of measuring success?
Great. Success can be your words, or it can be statistics and metrics. So some examples of measuring possible success is stating that, I'm going to keep this one simplistic, but stating that you're going to be able to have 300 people attend a conference. And of the 300, by having funding, you were going to receive surveys from maybe 50% of those people that attended. Well, that survey information is going to provide us with the future direction of the organization and the conference itself. And so be able to share that kind of metrics back again, and specifically stating that our goal is to have 300 people, of which 150 are going to submit surveys. That survey information is going to become available and be made available on a website by this specific date and help drive the future of the next conference and show how it drives the future of that next conference. I know that might have seemed simplistic there. What showed the grantor that looking for funding for something, you're asking for it, but you have a very specific outcome that you're trying to achieve, a very specific goal. That goal is going to have some measurements in it. And from those measurements, you're going to then take an action. There'll be an action step that's involved. After the action step that's involved, there's going to be a follow-up. Here is what happens if you achieve that goal. What you fell short. Where I learned a lip from back I went to hone my skills at NC State University in grant writing. Don't the obstacle or barrier your speaking point. Take it on as a challenge in your grant. Acknowledge it. What I say is I like to acknowledge the beast in the grant. That's going to be my hiccup. So take that obstacle and that challenge or that beast, acknowledge it, put it right back in front of the grantor. If I'm not able, or if our organization is unable to have the reach that we were hoping to have, that this is going to be our direction. This is how we're going to refocus. This is how we're going to regroup so that we ensure success. Per solution in grant of a potential obstacle or barrier that grantor might be thinking about when he's reading your grant. He's thinking to himself, well, how do we know if they do this and this? Try to anticipate what the grantor might be held up on in the funding and acknowledge that. Acknowledge that in your metrics, measurements. Your graph, like I said, is only about maybe 2-3 paragraphs up to a full page. It can be measured in terms of numbers and statistics, but don't forget, it also can be word-based outcomes.
Wonderful.
I hope the question.
I hope. I believe that was the last of our questions. Thanks so much for answering them. And I think if anyone continues to have questions or anything that we can, I'm sure, pass along, I'm sure everyone of the foundations can email myself or Kendall. More than happy to continue to try to find resources and pass on any questions. But again, thank you, Terry. And I believe Kendall will be able to wrap us up today.
Thanks again, Terry. That was awesome. I hope everybody was able to get some great information out of it. And again, like Ashley said, if you have any other questions, you can connect with us or Terry. We will be putting this slide deck and information back. So I just wanted to give really quick updates on some events coming up. Mark your calendars. A lot of this info is up on our website, and you'll see it again soon. But we have Rare Disease Day coming up in February. We have a date slated for the Rare Patient Advocacy Symposium that we do at UPenn. We are in the Rare on the Road series again. The dates and cities are listed here. And our summit this year is actually going to be a little bit later. Instead of being in September, it's going to be the first week of October. So check out these dates, mark your calendars. We can't wait to connect with you again after the first of the year. We hope that everybody has a wonderful holiday season. Look for an email from me in the next day or so with all of this information. And if you have any questions at all, don't hesitate to reach out. thank you, everyone, and especially Terry and Artem. Thank you guys so much for the information. I hope that everyone got as much out of it as we did. So thank you so much, and happy holidays.